Welcome to today's show. Today's news segment, we're talking about automatic extensions being ended now. So if you have a work permit in the United States, you really need to watch out, right? Because I'm going to talk about the natural consequences of this thing being canceled by USCIS. What are we talking about right now? A lot of people have work permits to be able to work in the United States before they get a green card. So you're filing for adjustment of status. While it's pending, you have a work permit. If you're on DACA, you're on a work permit. If you're on asylum, you're on a work permit before you finally get your green card. So work permit, ultimately, you could think about it like it's like a mini work authorization to be able to work. Doesn't mean you could travel, but at least you're legally, you're able to work. Now, in the past, for decades, when you are renewing your work authorization, it generally gets approved. Very little adjudication on the part of USCIS, and there's a lot of reasons for that. Because, and I'll get into it. It's because a lot of times it is done by contractors. It is expensive. You don't want to spend trained immigration officer personnel time to review work authorization extensions when somebody else is already spending that same amount of time adjudicating your case, right? So your case is already approved. It's already pending. It's just a temporary measure for you to be able to work. So, and you already got it once, right? And so now when you're filing the extension, why spend the time and resource to re-adjudicate that? The United States does a lot of that for a lot of different types of cases. But now we just got notice from, let's see, when was this issued? Yesterday. Yesterday, they're saying no. When you are renewing your work authorization, we're going to review your application. For most people, they'll probably still be able to get it, but for some people, they won't. I'm not worried about the some people that won't get it, right? For national security reasons, sure, the government spends an enormous amount of energy and time and effort to cancel the small few people who shouldn't be working. All right, they're justified. Here is the unintended consequence with work authorizations being canceled where you're renewing. Now, the government is going to have to spend an enormous amount of effort and time to adjudicate them, and what could take 3 months, 4 months naturally, might take 15 months. I'm not just throwing out random numbers here. A few years ago, we had work authorizations that took up to 15 months. So think about that. You're able to work until, let's say, June. Let's say you file for a renewal 3 months before, 2 months before. Well, if it only took 3 months or 4 months to adjudicate, maybe you miss work for a month. Maybe with the auto renew, you can not discontinue and you can keep on working. Okay, that was how it was done in the past. So if you didn't file on time, you file close to the deadline by 2-3 months. Some people think deadlines is like 1 day before, a week before. We're talking about people filing 2-3 months, and that's super late. What does USCIS require? Every single application is different. For most applications, they recommend filing it 180 days prior. With DACA, it's a little bit less.
150 or 120 days for DACA.
Before your work authorization is up. And let's say you didn't heed that deadline and it's only 90 days before, 3 months before, 2 months before, 1 month before. Now you file. If the adjudication time is still 3 months or 4 months, maybe you have to take an extended absence and you cannot work, or else you're working on without legalizing. You're unauthorized to work. That will be bad, right? You're already here, and your application is pending. You don't know if it's going to succeed. You don't want to add unauthorized employment onto that. So that is the problem that we're seeing. Now, that's just if the adjudication time is 3 months. What if the adjudication time becomes like what we saw a few years ago, 15 months? That means you file 6 months before, you might still be unemployed or cannot be employed for potentially 9 months. That is devastating. That is the government essentially firing all the people who are on work authorization through bureaucracy.
So, and when does this start?
This already started. This is already live. Now, the adjudication time for work authorizations right now, I would say it's still between 4 months to 6 months.
Yes, usually 4 to 6 months in the long term. Special circumstances sometimes require an additional 3 months, which is 9 months, but for the most part, it's within 3 to 6 months.
And that's why they tell everyone, please file your extension work 120 days before, 150 days, 180 days. And if it takes too long, we'll give you an automatic extension so your work is not disrupted. I mean, the advice is file early. File as soon as you can, right? If you file too early, it might cause a problem. We've seen that happen with some clients because they file too early. USCIS doesn't know what to do with it. They put it away, but then they forgot to pick it up to adjudicate it. And so it actually took longer. You're thinking, that's impossible. We've seen it happen. We've seen it happen to one of our very, very own. And so we definitely do not recommend filing it too early. If they say 150 days, file 150 days, They're not gonna penalize you for filing 1 day early, okay? But we're talking about somebody who filed like a month early, right? Mm-hmm. So
if the work permit is pending, can I still work?
It depends on your status, right? And so in the past, when you have automatic work authorization extensions, yes, you file it, you already had a work authorization, you're filing for an extension, it expired, it covered that period. But now that is being canceled, which means if you don't get the new one during the interim, you cannot work legally. You can maybe stay in the US legally, depending on your status, but you cannot work legally. The United States is suffering a major unemployment problem, and it's gonna get worse. Whether you say it's AI or it's the economy or it's inflation, a lot of companies are laying people off. And there's all sorts of effort to try to boost employment. And so we almost see that happening here. I can't say that is the pure intent. The pure intent of what they wrote on this paper is saying that they want to clamp down on fraud and abuse, right? And so if your case is pending, your legal stay is pending, we don't want to just give you a work authorization, especially if you have criminal background or whatnot. And so we're gonna, double check again, triple check again. Again, out of the hundreds of thousands of people who are filing these renewal applications, who already have a job, who are already working, who are already paying taxes, who are already doing everything they're supposed to, and they have a valid application to be in the country, when they're filing for a renewal, now the government is going to double check everyone and they're going to spend resources to do that. And if that resource that they are spending causes the adjudication time from 3 months to 4 months to become something unbearable, 9 months, 15 months, or even longer, that's going to cause all good people to have a major problem in their life. So I recommend everyone file as soon as you can, right? 150 days or 180 days. But now Gabby does a lot of these applications. If somebody does have something on the record, okay, and they know they're going to be adjudicated, what should they do to increase the chance of success?
I think it's important to mention a few things before we go into that. So, for example, some work permit categories, when you do the renewal, you don't pay a fee. So, adjustment of a status application, which is the C9 category, that one does not have, you don't have to pay to renew it. DACA work permit, for example, you have to pay every time that you renew it. And this is the reason why some people wait so long, right? So, you're having to pay this application fee every year and a half in order for you to maintain your status, but then obviously it's burdensome for some people.
This is like a freaking subscription model to be able to work in the United States. You have DACA, you're able to work. The government's saying instead of on top of taxing you, you have to pay for the authorization to work. And please, you have to now apply 150 days before you expire, and then you only get it for a year.
For 2 years.
For 2 years, and then now.
So almost every year and a half, you're having to renew the work permit. You have to pay the fee. So a lot of people that are struggling, especially with this economy, I think I've become more aware of, like people in situations where like, I don't have the money to pay for my work permit. So I'm going to wait until, like it's almost expired so that I can, and, obviously as a law office, we contact them, we remind them, we just try to work with people, but it's just the need of having to have that work permit to continue to pay for that work permit, essentially, right? So, so I think that's one thing to highlight. So important to plan ahead of time. If you know you're going to have to renew in a year and a half, maybe, you start saving somewhere.
Yeah.
And that way you can prepare it. But another thing is, like, if you have a criminal background check, a criminal background, you need to make sure that you're providing that documentation, even though when you do the renewal for the DACA, it says you do not need to provide documentation you've previously provided. We had a situation with a client. He had some sort of vandalism charge when he was a juvenile, and we had previously provided the information. One renewal we did without the information, and we got an RFE. But the application clearly says, do not provide information you've already provided.
Right.
So one of the things we told our client is, from now on, when we renew the work permit, you're going to need to go get a certified court disposition that is up to sealed or stamped, and we're going to have to submit it just to make sure that we don't have that RFE. Because think of it. So every year and a half, you're renewing that work permit. But you don't submit and you get an RFE, that delays the adjudication process even longer. So your work permit is going to expire regardless of you filing the 150 days before. So I think that's something to keep in mind, that you better be safe than sorry. Just send out all the documentation. Every application is different. Specifically talking about the DACA, you have to make sure that you report your addresses where you have lived from the last time where you filed the DACA. And essentially just give them all the forms, make sure you sign the forms, make sure that you put the right filing fees change, and you need to make sure that you're diligent with those things.
Hearing you say this, it makes me so upset at the system. And we're incorporating a nonprofit, and I feel like this is one of the things I want our nonprofit to do. People who are already struggling so much, even paying for a work permit authorization, nobody else has to pay, but they have to pay. And now it's making it more difficult, and the timeline and just so crunched. So when we officially launch our nonprofit, I want that to be one of the first services that we offer. We're going to throw an event, and it will just be free work permit renewals. Now, they still have to pay the government fee, but at least they don't have to pay so much more to do everything else, and they're so worried. And so that's something that we're going to launch probably early next year. The nonprofit is being set up right now, but yes, people need to file for their work authorization early and do a good job presenting it. It doesn't have to be long. Some pictures, who you are, your resume, and show that you have good moral character. And so please get it again, right? And so we'll create these templates. Everybody looks at it. If it's true, they sign it. They have the forms, and maybe it's still 2 months out, but at least they do everything. And so when the time is right, they just have to mail it, So we'll do that.
Someone says, I'm planning to get married, but my EAD card is getting expired soon. What can I do?
You should file your
for
EAD,
renewal.
right? Because this is what we're talking about, EAD. You're talking about your work authorization. So if your work authorization is going to be expired, you need to file for that. It's so important. Now, if you're getting married and you didn't adjust status yet, you're in a unique situation. Potentially, you could file for adjustment status and file for a 765, and instead of filing for a renewal, you just combine it with your 45. But if you might not get married until a month later, and then you file your case 2 months later, and then your work permit expires and you cannot work, well, then you're in a pickle, right? So talk to your employer, look at the whole situation. Maybe what you're forced to do is file a 765, and hopefully, fingers crossed, your work authorization gets approved within 3-4 months. And so when you file a new one, you might not need to necessarily pay the second 765 fee, right?
Can they file for EAD along with the adjustment of status when they get married?
Yes. It's not required, but we recommend most people do it. So, yeah.
If I'm in ICE custody and I have a T visa pending, can ICE do expedited requests before they deport me?
We don't do a lot of T visas or removal proceeding type of casework. So I really don't want to advise you on that.
And that goes the same for how long does habeas corpus take?
Yeah.
If there's a case pending and someone decides to leave, does leaving the country do anything?
It abandons the application. So Now, there are small exceptions, but generally speaking, if you're filing for adjustment of status, you're filing for a change of status, you're filing for anything, when you leave, you essentially abandon everything you have submitted. Sometimes it can have dire consequences, such as if you're filing for a change of status or you're filing for extension of status of your B1, B2 visa. You thought, oh, I want to just stay here for a little longer to visit, Disneyland. And then you're like, well, it's taking too long. USCIS is too slow. I'm going to leave. Well, you filed for an extension. You left. The case is denied. And now your B1, B2 visa will get canceled, right? And so for a lot of different type of cases, you definitely want to be careful and know the consequences of leaving.
Is there any way to expedite EAD processing if I file along with the adjustment of status?
You can expedite. There is a website in the USCIS, there is a page on the USCIS website that explains the categories for expediting a work permit. So it will be like an extreme emergency or financial loss, severe financial loss. So if your employer gives you a letter saying you're going to be terminated because your work permit is about to expire, which is happening to a lot of people, more people than you know right now. Your work permit is about to expire. You filed 180 days before, but yet it's still not adjudicated. So now it expires on November 29th. If you do not have a new one, then we're going to have to terminate you or put you on a leave of absence. So one of the things that employers are doing is using the E-Verify system more and more. So when they run that work permit through, I believe it gives them an alert saying, this person is about to lose status. With that, they have to make a decision whether they terminate you or whether they give you a leave of absence. So we had a client, had been working for this big corporate office, was really successful. He was going to start, doing more and more things for the company, but his work permit expired. So instead of giving him a leave of absence, they decided they are going to terminate him. So that means when he gets the new work permit, he goes back to that job, but he's a new employee. So all his seniority and his benefits are scratched out pretty much. So it's really hard. It's really hard for people right now.
If I came into the country with a visa, do I still need to advance parole to get a green card?
No, you don't. So advanced parole is an application that allows you to travel and come back into the country. Some people, they come here, they get married, they file for adjustment of status, and they don't plan on leaving or working, temporarily at least. And so you don't have to file for a 765 or advanced parole. Now, do we recommend people to do it? Yes, because you never know what will happen. What if you're filing for adjustment of status, and what if your adjustment status application is one of those really complicated ones that take 2-3 years? And then suddenly your mother, your grandmother overseas happen, and you need to go see them one last time. I've seen plenty of terrible and horrible stories. Some clients like, I'm going to save a couple $100 now, and then something happens, and like, okay, now they have to spend thousands to try to get it expedited. Not worth it. We just recommend most people do it because you just don't know what's going to happen. Obviously, you have a super good case. You're married to a U.S. citizen. You expect to get approved within 9 months. There's no reason why you're going to need to be abroad. Sure, save a couple $100.
Are USCIS still approving expedited requests for advanced parole?
We see very little of that. Yeah, we see very little expedite advanced paroles or expedite reentry permits.
And then they take a while to respond to. So you send your expedited request. They are supposed to give you a response within 10 days. They take sometimes up to 2 months. So even expediting it takes a little bit longer.
I filed my EAD today. Any hope for an extension?
What do you mean? If you filed it today, good luck. Try to get it 3 to 6 months because you're still filing it within this time period. But in the future, while they start putting more and more people to adjudicate it, it might get longer. Now, if the government is going to utilize AI to do this, it might keep it within the same time frame, right? But again, we just don't know exactly. In the past, at least when they do stuff like this, it tripled the amount of time that it took.
Okay, I'm going to focus on the more family-based work permit because I know Gabby has to leave soon.
Yeah.
If my mom's clock is on 20 days, can she still get a work permit? I assume she has 20 days left on the work permit.
I mean, if they file the renewal, they can contact. So one of the things you have to keep in mind is when you submit the renewal, you're still subject to the processing times. So if the processing time says we're going to take 7 months adjudicating your application, then you could contact USCIS and ask them what the status is, and then, you know, kind of like bring it up to their attention, saying, my work permit is about to expire. I haven't received my new one. I filed it 5 months ago.
Yeah.
But I mean, it all depends. It all depends
Yeah.
on you know, the adjudicating office. I think one of the other things to highlight right now that came to mind is because of the faster processing of adjustment of a status through marriage, they are bypassing the EAD approvals. So we had a certain situation with the client. She is on DACA and she has a work permit, but her interview for her green card through marriage already got scheduled. So she has not received a work permit. So she may not get that work permit through the marriage case because now she's going for her interview already.
Right.
But that's another burden as well.
Yeah.
Because, you know, again, it comes to money.
Yeah.
You've paid for your work permit through marriage because now it has a fee. Before it did not have a fee. But you also have to pay for your DACA work permit to be approved if you want to continue working. So even though it is beneficial, it does put that financial burden on people.
Yeah.
You know, you pay one application, you pay another, but they both are pending. So if she would have filed for the renewal through DACA, that money might have been lost because if the green card is approved, they not only cancel the work permit that she filed through the marriage case, but they also cancel the DACA renewal. So
If a Canadian comes in as a tourist, marries a U.S. citizen, then applies for a green card 6 months later, will that application get rejected?
It won't be rejected purely because they're a Canadian, they came into the US and they filed it 6 months later, right? They'll get rejected for reasons that the officers can reject the case. So if they think there was fraud and misrepresentation when you came in, you told the officer you love the Great Lakes and you want to go to Yosemite, but in fact you just got married immediately and you overstayed. If you started working unlawfully and then, you know, you commit crimes, well then maybe they could deny you for inadmissibility and deportability grounds, right? But just by the virtue of overstaying and you adjust status, a USCIS officer could still approve that green card.
I got an approval like a year ago for my brother's petition. I have 245I, but I don't know how to prove my presence back in December 2000. Is there any way you can help?
consultation. I think consultation. There would be a consultation.
That's complicated. Here's a couple advice we could do. You know, we won cases where it wasn't just that day, right? Obviously, if you had a dry cleaning bill that day with your name on it, that's great. But if you have documents beforehand and after, if the people who you're living with, they have documents before and after, right? So really think outside of the box. Usually when we do these type of consultations, we want to bring everyone in. Your family friends, your best friend, everybody can brainstorm together. Do you still know the cleaning lady? Do you still know so-and-so? Can somebody get you an invoice, receipt? Don't fake it, right? We've had a case where they gave a fake, I think was it a dry cleaning bill? It was some sort of invoice, but it was like squeaky clean, right? It was like a perfect brand new one. It seemed like it almost looked like you just went to 99 cents store, bought it, and just made it, right? And the officer was like, you're telling me this receipt is 20 years old, right? And so, anyways, the case still, I think, got approved. But just focus on family and friends coming together and do the proof before and after.
About how long is USCIS taking on average to accept first-time advanced parole requests?
First time?
Accept them?
Yeah.
To accept or to approve them?
First time advanced parole usually takes about 9 months after you file the application. And that's, again, subject to change. But usually average timing would be 9 months.
Yeah, we always say 6 to 9 months. Again, like I said, in the other lives, we've been seeing some crazy cases where we file the 45, adjustment status, and advanced parole, and then the interview and the green card gets approved within 3 months of filing.
2 months.
You know, so they just skip all that work permit and all that advanced parole. Like, you paid for it, but boom, they just give you the green card. You don't need it anymore. So again, that's recently. I can't say if that's going to continue.
Any info on what can happen to a stateless Palestinian who's currently detained? Zero criminal history.
No idea. I don't think we've done a case like that before. We've done stateless. We've done people who've been detained. We've done cases for people who are from Palestine. We haven't done all three together. So it's a complicated situation. Yeah.
Are DACA recipients good to travel domestically?
Oh, great question. In the past, we would say yes, absolutely, don't worry about it because there's no customs officer at the different airports. But last week's live, we saw a customs officer start challenging people in domestic airports. But because you're a DACA recipient, you are safe. Just carry your paper, right? Carry the proof that you have work authorization and you're legal in the U.S. Because if you don't, now ICE and customs can fine you for not carrying authorization. So to your question, is it safe to travel? Yes, if you're legal with and carry authorization so you don't get fined.
Are K1 exempt from the full travel ban?
Fiancé visa K1?
I don't believe so. I believe even if you have a valid visa and you're from a country that has a travel ban, you're still banned. Yeah, so travel ban is based on country, not necessarily visa category. Unless you get an exception from the consulate, right? Which some do.
How can someone who overstayed their visa get a work permit?
If somebody overstayed their visa, then now they're unlawfully present in the United States. And once you're unlawfully present in the United States, you cannot change to a different status and become legal unless you fit some of the key requirements. And so look into the U visa, right? Maybe you can apply for asylum, maybe not, depending on the requirements. Maybe you qualify for T. There's a few case categories where even if you're unlawfully here, you can still apply. And if that case category is pending and you qualify for it, then you could potentially get a work authorization, right? So not a lot, but there are some that are available. Take a look at it, ask ChatGPT, and then once you think, hey, this scenario might fit you, then consult with a good attorney that do those type of cases.
Do I have to go to my citizenship interview with my spouse?
If it is based on marriage, we highly recommend the spouse comes to the citizenship interview. But if it's based on the general provision, the 5-year, not need.
It's a 3-year.
It's a 3 years, so then definitely come with the spouse.
They might not let you in, but at least they know the spouse is outside.
Okay, I know, Gabby, you have to go soon. Is there any guaranteed way to be legal after being here 30 plus years, but you're under 55?
You're under 55, you've been here for 30 years, you came in when you're 20, and you're unlawfully here. Is there a way to guarantee that you can get a green card? Is that what you're asking? In life, there's no guarantees, but a couple things that can increase your chance of success to the, close to the 99 percentile, right? So first you have to have a basis. So basis probably either your parents are a U.S. citizen, your children are a U.S. citizen, your spouse is a citizen. So that is this foundational basis. Second, show that you have extraordinary good moral character, right? People love you, tons of letter recs, you have a good job, you have a good income, you pay a lot of taxes, you do all sorts of things for the community. Congressmen, senators can all write you letter recs, mayors. Show that you are a person of good reputation. And then also show that if you are not here, your spouse or your parents would suffer extreme hardship if you are not here, right? Because of just how important you are. If you do all of that, you're really close. And if you want that extra guarantee, donate $1 million to the Trump card.
Gabby, anything to add? I know you do a lot of basic ones.
No, yeah. So essentially what Joseph said, the basis, the foundation is your petitioner, right? Who can petition for you? How can you get legal status? And that's the key. That's the key. Spouse, children, parent, and then obviously eligibility analysis for each category, which is different. But I think most importantly, like who can help you achieve that dream?
Any update on the H1 lawsuit or just any exceptions or natural interest? Any updates?
No, I haven't seen any.
Apparently, Chamber of Commerce filed an injunction.
People have filed, but I haven't seen any results.
Right.
So it is, so even though there is an injunction that's filed, I think if you try to file for the H-1B, if you don't pay the $100,000, there's a high chance it could still get denied, right? And again, Rebecca, please. This is the first time she's joining on live. She might be a little shy. Be gentle with her.
And Rebecca, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Rebecca, attorney here at Dunn Associates. I have been here for 3 years.
I have my interview for marriage green card, but I've not gotten my work permit approved. Is this normal?
Yes.
Can I use psychological evaluation for VAWA if I don't have witnesses?
Yes.
What's your thoughts on applying K3 after applying I-130? Is it difficult?
I don't have enough knowledge about that. Gabby would. She did a lot of these. But yeah, I don't know.
If you have been in immigration proceedings before, and this will be your second time, is there a possibility to get out?
To be bailed out, you mean? Sure, chances are not high.
If you've overstayed on a B1, B2, is it possible to switch to an F1?
If you've already overstayed, you cannot.
Is USCIS still closed?
USCIS is funded by application money, and so the officers in USCIS, they are technically still on payroll and they're still working. They're not necessarily furloughed. So in the previous decade, anytime something like this happens, they continue to process and work. They don't. The federal building in which they work might be shut down, so security guards are not there, so they can't do interviews. But they're still on payroll and they're still doing their cases, and that's the case. However, the USCIS director individually, they could decide what to work on, right? So the USCIS directors have at least told our service center, and it's just several other service centers and field offices, since we're having a furlough, focus on the fraudulent cases. So now the office is still open, they're still working, they're still public, but they're not adjudicating the normal cases. So if you have a normal case and it's supposed to be approved in 3 months, now because of the shutdown, it might be 4 months, it might be 5 months, it might be 6 months. And now they're spending on time on the other projects. I don't know if that helps. But yeah.
And yes, the Instagram stream is down for some reason, our connection, just so you guys know. I just had my interview is open.
So certain service centers are still doing interviews and they're open? Yeah, definitely possible.
I'm pending asylum. How can I apply to EB2? I applied to asylum while I'm in status, but now I'm not.
Yeah, so you would need to close out your asylum case and transfer it over to USCIS, and provide that you have a basis for adjustment of status.
Now, physician. I'm a physician, stuck with the 100,000 H-1B fee. I have a very good academic record, publications, peer review. Is EB1 worth trying?
Here's the argument you need to make, okay? How will you benefit the United States? Conversely, why does the United States need you? We've done plenty of EB1 cases for doctors and for people in the medical profession. USCIS is extremely haughty about the situation. They say, we have the best doctors. Why do we need you? You don't even have a medical license in the US, so you can't even practice. So how would you make that argument? So think through that based on all your...
They are US board certified, etc.
Wonderful. That makes it a lot easier. So you get an offer letter, right? Get an offer letter. This area is critically needed. We need you. And yeah, do the EB1A.
They're US trained as well.
Even better, right? A lot of the EB1As that we do are not in the US. And so, they've been abroad. They for like 20, 30 years, they have a lot of media publications. They're a great surgeon over there, but what are they going to do here? So if you can work in the US and the US critically needs better doctors, you should have a not too difficult case.
And would EB2 and IW?
EB1A is faster. So if you are that close, I would say try EB1A. If it doesn't work, fall back to EB2A.
They worked in the US, then they went to the home country. So I don't think they're in the US right now.
That's okay. Plenty of people do that.
So yeah, maybe worth scheduling consultation with us on our website or reaching out on TikTok or on Instagram to talk more about your case. How long after the 45 and I-130 do you get the green card?
We always say 6 to 9 months, and if it's really complicated, we even say 1 year to year and a half. We have seen some miracle cases 3 to 6 months now.
Are green card renewals going to be more difficult now?
Green card renewals I haven't seen any official notice similar to the EAD card, the work permit card being scrutinized, right? So right now, just yesterday, they're saying work authorization renewals are going to be scrutinized a lot harder. I have not seen the equivalent of that dealing with green cards. Will it happen eventually? Maybe? Sure. But I haven't seen it yet. So as of now, hopefully it's still pretty simple.
I filed my work permit way before October expires for renewal. Will this new change affect me?
No, this change applies to applications filed after today. So if you've already filed it, they're still doing the automatic extensions and adjudication. Yeah.
So for this doctor, do I need an offer letter or expression of interest that they would employ me if not for the 100,000 fee?
Are you talking about EB1A?
Yeah.
The beautiful thing about EB1A is it's self-petition. So you don't need an offer letter.
You just have to show.
Yeah, so this is who I am. I want to work here and I have potential jobs. So in past cases, we've even just included all these different LinkedIn headhunters, right? On your LinkedIn profile, you have all these people saying, hey, can you work here? Do you want to work here? We would love to interview you. I'm so extraordinary, I could work anywhere. So, but this is my intent. I want to work in this field. So once I get the visa, I bring my family, we settle down, then I'll start working, right? So you could do that. Now, obviously, if you want to make your case much stronger, you have a place that already offered you an employment and say, once you get your visa, you can start here. This is your position, this is your salary, this is your job duties.
They're in primary care, which is a massive shortage in the US.
Excellent.
It really seems like this is the perfect NIW exception for the H-1B. It's just that it's so new that there's no info.
Yeah. And also the H-1B exception, I think you make a good argument. I think you could succeed at it. It's just the process might be long, right? So USCIS might adjudicate the process much slower because the adjudication, depending on where country you're from, if you want a green card, maybe just look into that because maybe the timing might be the same, right? EB1A, approve, go to the consulate, get the green card, the whole family comes, right? So take a look at that.
My DACA expires in March of 2026. Do I still have time to renew?
Yes. You should renew.
Peace.
Yeah, ASAP.
How soon can I apply for a green card renewal?
Is it 6 months? I think it's 6 months. Yeah, I-90. I think it's 6 months. But double check on USA's website.
The EB1A potential is British.
Excellent. Even better.
My I-140 was approved, and I filed for 485, but USCIS admin closed my case.
Why?
They didn't say.
Oh, we should find out.
So, okay, EB1A potential, so can you take on my case?
Let's do a consultation.
Yeah, we
right?
can't.
Yeah, so, but I think we could walk you through EB1A option, EB2 NIW option, strengths and weaknesses. If you're really good, we just push you to EB1A, try that. If it's not as good, EB2 NIW. But I recommend take a look at our YouTube channel on the, it's on Associates, TSANG and Associates, and we have an EB1A playlist, probably over 40, 50 videos. We've helped, dumpling chefs, other doctors, Uber drivers. Sorry, not an Uber driver, but a guy who invented a Uber-like company in a different country. Somebody who invented soap 30 years ago, right? So invented soap, a clean detergent, soap-like for a third world country. So we've done a lot of unique different cases. Take a look at it. If you see the strategy, you like what we do, feel free to do a consultation with us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's like the first step of any case. How difficult does it apply to for advanced parole, and do they ever get rejected?
I almost never see advanced parole or work permits get rejected on merit-based situations. The only time I see it rejected is if, for example, USCIS just expedite reject your I-130 or expedite reject your I-140, so they don't even have to do the advanced parole, right? So some cases, you have a major criminal background. They don't even want to adjudicate the other things. They just immediately deny. We're talking about extension of status or a change of status. In the past, these are not that big of a deal. It was always difficult. It was always scary, but it wasn't that hard, and we've had plenty of success. And other people had plenty of success. But now this is going to get a lot harder, and I foresee a lot of denials. We didn't like doing these cases before necessarily, and it's always so hard because the consequence is so high. What am I talking about? Somebody comes in on one visa, let's say a tourist visa. That's the most common visa. They come in as a tourist. Suddenly plans change. They want to change to a different visa, or they want to extend their stay here, right? They want to just, it's like you book in a hotel 3 days, now you want to stay for an extra 3 days. You want an extension. Can it be that hard? Is it possible that this is difficult? I almost felt like I was, scaring people using sales technique when I tell them be very careful, because it's like, it's unbelievable that something so simple, such a simple request can be so difficult. But the consequences and the truth of the matter is that if it is not successful, your original visa gets canceled. You have to reapply with the consulate, and some people, not some, for many people, that will never happen again. So right now, for example, somebody has a tourist visa, they can come into the country and they can visit. But if you do any of these small, minute changes, I want an extension, I want a change, and if it's not done right, your original visa gets canceled and you might be barred from the United States for life, because the reality is most people cannot get a new visa. And so let's start with what happened. This is around a 25-year-old girl who came into the United States. She just graduated her bachelor's degree. She was visiting her friends in the US, stayed at with one friend's house, stayed at another friend's house. And then during this time, she really liked the United States, like so many people do. They like the freedom, they like the air, they like the life in the United States. And she decided, you know what, I would like to study. I would like to continue my education and get a master's degree. So she did a consultation with Rebecca, planned out her education. She got accepted into a great MBA program that continues her studies. And we prepared everything, and then we filed for the change of status from a tourist to an F1 student. Again, thousands of people do this almost every single day across the country. It is not a complicated or difficult thing to do, but we definitely did a thorough job, because we know the consequence if this being denied is quite severe. Also, because she's already been here for about 60 days. Again, you don't want to do this too early. If you did this, you fly into the country and then you do a change of status too soon, within 10 days, within 2 weeks, we've seen just direct denials because they said you lied to the immigration officer. You said you were going to be here to visit friends, but you just immediately changed status. Sorry, we do not believe you. Your tourist visa is canceled. Go back to the home country. Apply for a student visa there, but good luck, because a lot of people say the denial rate at consulates might be over 90%. So anyways, she came, stayed 60 days. We filed the change of status. We showed everything. It was over, I think, 8 pages of attorney brief plus, 20, 30 documents minimum. And her school's supposed to start in October, so she'll have only a few days, but before she needed to start school. Pay the premium processing fee too. Now, we get a request for evidence, and they mainly challenge 2 things. The first thing is, were you truly a tourist during the 60 days that you were here? And they listed out a bunch of different requirements. I'm gonna actually read them one by one to you, because this gave you a couple nightmares already, right? Okay. The first thing, it says maintenance of B2 status. With your response, you submitted medical documentation from August 2025. However, you did not provide details of the activities. So please provide a detailed list of activities in which you've engaged in since being admitted to the United States. For example, if you were engaged in tourist activities, include the towns and the cities and the tourist attractions, such as the parks and the museums, to the best of your knowledge. You need not include any places you transited through or on your way to these destinations, provided that you did not stay overnight. But if you did stay overnight, please provide that, right? Provide evidence of your activities, which may include, but is not limited to, receipts, bank statements, credit card statements, hotel invoices, rent receipts, affidavits from those places that you visited. If you're visiting a friend or relative, provide the name and address of the persons you visited. This is a detailed, almost a gospel-like documentation. What were you doing every minute of the day, every week of the day? They want to know.
So what was that like, Rebecca, to prepare?
And so Rebecca had to work with the client. Okay, 60 days you were here.
Actually, when we received our fee, it's almost like close to 90 days.
Almost 90 days.
So we need a lot of
Yeah.
documents. We need a lot of stuff to show that we have done those stuff that could fill 90 days. If I just went to one place, meet one friend, it's not enough. It couldn't show that I'm here for the tourist purpose. So
Yeah.
ask her, where did you go, and could you find anything that, because she's here mainly for visit her friends, and she's like, I'm a guest, so like a lot of Chinese when guests visit you, if you don't pay a lot of stuff by yourself, you don't book a lot of stuff by yourself. So a lot for like the tickets, like the purchase or the dining stuff, she didn't pay by her credit card. That's the hard part, that we
Yeah.
couldn't get those evidence under her name, but we can ask her friends, her
Yeah.
family, relatives to show that if they can help provide those stuff. And do you have pictures?
Yeah.
Like picture together, picture in the place, like near the lake, in the museum.
Yeah.
Luckily, she has those pictures, and the friends are willing to help her. Like, yes, we have been there. And we also ask the friends if you're willing to writing some affidavits to talk about, yes, I confirm we have been someplace on some day, and we live in some place, and I booked the hotel. It's under my name, but let me show you the booking reservation, and I confirm the people we live together is the applicant herself. So that is the stuff, and we also make a list, trying to make it as detailed as possible to let officer could understand the detailed activities she has done one day, each day, where she lives. If it's just the same as yesterday, we should still show them it's this place, and we have the evidence of each day's residence. Like if she lives in friend's house, we have affidavit to prove that yes, on that day she lived here. If she lives in hotel, we find out the receipt or booking reservation, or just payment.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
show it.
we're gonna make this into a separate success story. So again, we're filming this live, but we're recording a success story, and we're gonna show you that chart, right? It was 3 pages. The date, where she lived, who she stayed with, and what other activities she did during that time, and then substantiating that with all the exhibits. So in the response to this request for evidence, I think it was over 30, 40 additional new documents. Testimonies from friends and family. Again, a 25-year-old pretty girl who was in the United States wanting to get an MBA. Friends are treating her out, and this is what she did, right? And so a lot of different people provided the evidence, provided pictures. Luckily, being young, being Asian, you take a picture of everything you eat. So who knew that that would be effective to getting her visa saved, essentially, right? And so a lot of pictures of food, a lot of pictures of her eating food, and her friends are eating food at different restaurants, at different locations. But that's what the officer wanted. And so that was the first part. It was quite challenging because it was 90 days that she was here. So we had to, again, 3 full pages of detailed itinerary. Nothing super complicated. It's just mind-boggling to most people that is this real? Is this reality? Is this what the government really wants, to know literally what I'm doing every single day? The answer is yes, right? I'm not BSing. That is a real request for evidence, and that's not even the most challenging one. We've seen way more difficult ones, you know? Well, the paper, right? Okay. So that is the request for evidence regarding the maintenance of your B2 status. Because if you were not a real tourist, if you don't have anything to prove that you're just doing tourist things, then your case could be denied. But the second thing that they challenged was whether or not you have enough money,
Yes.
right? If you're a tourist here for 90 days and you're gonna study an MBA program, do you have enough funds? And again, just 25-year-old girl in the United States. Does she have enough?
The hearing is like at the initial filing, actually we have submit some financial document to show she has the foundations, she has the money, but the problem is here her money is not all in the American United States bank accounts. It's like the external foreign accounts. But external foreign accounts, most time they don't have like the English version, the translation version, or they have different versions, like doesn't like the bank statement in the United States. It's very clear. You have the name, you have the balance. But that one, like in China, some bank account they are not willing to provide a very clear, like 1 point catch one. It has the Chinese English version, but it doesn't have the name on it.
Yeah.
So the officer find, are you sure it's your bank statement? Give me more stuff. But they're asking like, if you are asking some people help you, sponsor you, you need to get there's the affidavit of support and there's sufficient money. If you're using your own money, try to show that they're enough. And because the money is in external account, foreign accounts, money is not in US dollars. It is Chinese
RMB.
RMB. And previously in our brief, I told officer like this amount RMB equals to how much money US dollars. But for now, they don't want to trust my calculation. They say, tell me what's the exchange rate. Actually, I not like making it up. I search online the exchange rate, and it's like approximately, and it's definitely higher than the school's required amount, but they want more, like certified stuff to show the exchange rate is real. They also don't like to search by themselves. They want us to prove what is the exchange rate of today, of that day, of the statement day. So what we look up is we look up the official federal exchange rate of the specific data, and we print it out, we show, and we do the calculation to show that, see, this is how much money we have. It is definitely sufficient. Because how we do
It's like Common Core math the United States is teaching. We're going to show every single step beyond a reasonable doubt. This is her Hong Kong bank statement. This is her name. This is the English translation. This is how much she has. This is how much she has from January all the way through the present. And the funds are all there. This is the currency exchange rate during this time. And this is her US bank account, and this is how much she has. And then you add them all together, and this is how much she has right now. And this is, in fact, she already paid for the tuition. So this is just what's remaining in her account that is more than 3 times, more than 4 times what is needed to study in school. So we just went above and beyond and went through every single step. And again, this is a change of status. This is saying, I'm a tourist and I want to go to school. The school accepted me, I paid the tuition, but now the government is coming in and says, do you have enough money? What is the currency rate? Where is the funds located? Is it in your name? Show me that it's consistent. It's somebody else coming in to adjudicate everything. Maybe you think that's what the government is supposed to do, and I agree. Again, we've already submitted hundreds of pages to documents establishing it, but now they want even more details, right? Everything to be certified translated. And so this is the type of scrutiny that officers are doing now when you're doing a change of status or you're doing an extension of stay. I'm a tourist, but I want to extend the stay. Please, they want to see all of these things, right? The funds, the money, who are you staying with, who are you working with? So for anybody who's thinking about doing a change of status or an extension of status, or you got a request for evidence, don't second guess yourself. This is not, a dream. This is a nightmare. You have to really work hard to prepare the response. I think that's how we do it, right?
Yes.
And so this is our recommendation for anybody who's doing this. Hopefully you guys found it helpful. And thank you, Rebecca. How do you feel? How do you feel about a case like this?
Actually, I feel good because this case, we wrote about all those points, not just the RFE point, we also tell the full story. But I feel like, yes, the USCIS has become a lot stricter to the change of status. They want to know why you wanted to change here, why not go back to consular to file for a visa. So I think the case is much more stricter, so there's no point that you think it is not necessary.
Yeah.
Every point need to be well prepared.
Yeah.
I think for this case is good because why doing the activity, the B2 activity, I'm like, oh, I'm also traveling around.
Yeah.
I see like, oh, I'll go that hotel, I fly there.
Yeah.
I feel like, oh, I just
Yeah.
sit here and travel for some time.
Yeah.
It's good. It's
It's
good.
fun.
It's fun, and it's much better to see it get approved, so
Yeah.
she can study here. She don't and because it's also had like a nervous because the program started
Yeah.
very soon.
Yeah.
The clients also text me several times
Yeah.
said, I'm a little bit nervous.
Yeah, I
I'm a little concerned. Do you think can I get to school before it starts?
Yeah.
I think I'm nervous too.
Yeah.
But luckily we filed the premium processing
Yeah.
and it's got approved pretty fast
Yeah.
after we filing, responding the RFE. They
Yeah.
accept, they see how many documents we have.
Yeah.
It is strong, so it got approved.
I think that one of the hardest things is, you're juggling time and success, right? We get this request for evidence. It is extremely challenging. You don't do it well, it could be denied. So we want a lot of documents. So we're writing 10, 20-page briefs. We're submitting 60, documents. We're packaging everything together. That takes time. That takes time for the clients to get. That takes, the affidavits we want to notarize from all the family and friends. It takes time to collect everything. Should we take 1 week? Should we take 1 month? Well, the longer we take, the slower we file, the slower the approval, but the school is about to start. But if you don't do a good job and the case gets denied, you can't go to school. What is the client supposed to do? The client doesn't know. You can't expect the client to know. It's not their profession to know this. That's why they are trusting you. You have done these cases before. We do these day in and day out. The thing is, we don't know what this administration, this officer is going to think. So we can only guess based on how we've done cases in the past. So we think by writing the 10 pages, by collecting the 60 documents, that is sufficient and we can file. Of course, give us another 3 weeks, we could do it even better. But, deciding when is it sufficient, and we trust in our ability to do that. That is the hardest part of doing the case,
Sure.
And like all cases, you're always dealing with limited resources, limited time, and having to do it well, exactly how to put everything together. Not dissimilar to any other profession, right? You're a good chef, you only have 30 minutes, prepare a meal for 5 people, and you only have 4 ingredients. Go, right? So.
And yeah, highly recommend booking a consultation with us, because I do think, definitely worth talking more about. Okay, that is our time, everyone. Oh, last question. Okay. Can I use psychological evaluation for VAWA if I don't have witnesses?
Yes.
Yeah, that's being asked.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. So we'll post this. If you want to talk more about your case, feel free to book a consultation on our website.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.